Claire Kincaid Dunn. I'm chairing the meeting tonight for Park and Rec on May 6th. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:32. And we will start with public forum. Does anyone in the audience want to speak? Or is everyone here to observe?
Yeah, of course.
Well, do you want to move his?
Yep. So with
portion
no
of the
one
agenda
in,
forward?
so can we move 9 new business A Eagle Scout project up, but we need a motion?
I'll motion that we move the 9A to the beginning of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, so Carson, if you would like to come up to the microphone, and if you need, do you need someone to hold anything?
I could put the board on a chair.
Okay.
Quite a toothpick. How about if you move your chair over here a little so the camera can get a better angle of your project?
Just hold it. Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Carson Tosta. I'm working towards my Eagle Scout in Troop 474. I'm a freshman at Guilford High School and a member of the Order of the Arrow and Boy Scouts of America. I'm here to talk about my Eagle project that will benefit the Vintner Park Disc Golf Course. I will be constructing 18 cedar posts like the one you see here, about 4 to 5 feet tall, that will display a sign like the one over here that will show the hole number, where to throw the disc, and where the next hole is. So just to talk about the cedar posts a little bit, they're going to be anywhere from 6 to 7 feet, and we're not going to worry too much about the frost line, but we will be close to the 42-inch line, so it'll vary whether or not that'll be up a little bit more, up down this height. This is about 4 feet here that I cut from the cedar in the area. I went there after I spoke with Mr. Maynard one day, and then I cut this section, and it's about what would be above the ground, and there'd be 2 feet in the ground, so it'd be a total of 6 feet. Or if we decide to go 5 feet, it'd be 2 feet in the ground, so that'd be a 7-foot pole. It'll be natural like this with the bark on it, and then it'll just be cut without a finish on the top. I have a little slice over there that I can pass around later, and you guys can smell it and look at it and feel it. It smells really nice, by the way. That's what they make closets out of. So it'll be like that, and we're going to attach the signs to it. That's also going to be part of my project, but mainly it's going to be drilling all 18 holes, placing the posts in, and then securing the signs afterwards.
And where's the cedar from? Is it from where we cleared in Vintner?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
we're recycling.
yeah, so the trees are going to be about this diameter and a few inches larger, just to ensure it doesn't rot out right away, and it's pretty sturdy against all weather. Whatever may hit it or be pushed over.
Carson, you're not going to bury them in cement, right?
No, we're not going to bury them in cement. We're going to try and put maybe some stone dust around it to help it keep it secure and tamp it down with a little bit of water. But other than that, we're going to leave it that way.
You know what happens when you bury them in cement?
Yeah, when they rot out, you can't get them out of the ground.
Well, no, that too, but they rot quicker.
Yeah.
Cement attracts moisture.
Mm-hmm.
Carson mentioned that, yeah, those do come from Vintner Park, but those are trees that were dead, that were down. We did not cut, as part of the project, any cedar trees. There were trees that were already down.
Okay.
And so there are a lot of them laying on the ground. And
If you need more, you can come to my backyard.
I know.
Thank you.
I have one out on Goose Island right now. Joel Halinger's Goose Island is the flagpole out there in my backyard. So we have plenty if you need them. They're already down. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, great.
The
Great.
signs, is it, how are you making the signs?
So we were going to have the signs made by a company. There's a lot of companies out there. You can just type in on Google, like disc golf course signs, and it'll come up with different designs. This is one that I found on the Facebook page, and it displays Vintner Park Disc Golf Course, where the next hole is, like the direction of it, and then where to throw the disc into the basket.
Okay, so they're not paper and like laminated?
No,
Where we're gonna
they
have
could
to
be
replace them.
anything from like a a plexiglass laminate to an aluminum sign. You know, it's whatever Mr. Maynard decides to do that'll hold up against the weather and whatever else.
The sign design has been probably made by someone that Craig Smolin was working with, our course designer. He has a professional person, and actually Todd has been working on some sign designs too. But I think for the, and I'll probably talk about it more when we have the, talk about disc golf, but there's going to be a tournament there a week from Saturday, May 18th. And for that, we're just using laminated signs because, you know, we don't have the final layout yet. So for that course, that tournament will be just 8.5 by 11 laminated signs. But the final product, we'll also have the sponsors, we'll have a sign for the sponsors at each fairway also.
Do you have to do fundraising for the sign parts, or is that something you need us to help with?
Since the sponsors have donated quite a bit of money, that'll fund the signs and anything else we may need.
Excellent. Any questions?
No,
Oh, that sounds great.
Okay,
Great presentation also.
Thank you.
Anyone want to make the motion to approve Carson's project?
I will approve Carson's project of disc golf course posts and signs for his Eagle Scout project.
I should second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
You are all set, Carson. Thank you so much for helping
Thank
with
you.
this.
Yeah, thank you very much.
When you pass that little sample around, it made me think of my little hamster when I was a kid.
When I was cutting, I was like, ooh, this is nice.
I like the fact that it's reusing what's already there.
Yeah, that's great.
So we shall see you with your court of honor with the rest of the 7 from 471 and 472.
That happened last week.
That happened last week.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
That was, that's the future right there,
All right,
boys.
good job, brother. Thank you.
That's it, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Full speed ahead there, Carson.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute, you get your coaster back.
That's a disc.
Yeah, it's not disc golf, so don't throw it at him.
You don't need him hurt.
Yeah, take it easy.
Okay, the only correspondence was a letter to Rick from, is it Carol? Is it Carol Usher?
Usher.
Okay. That was a nice letter, a little bit of history on different things in Guilford. And there was nothing forwarded other.
That was it.
Okay. So moving on to 4, approval of April 1st minutes. Are there any changes? Any? Okay. A motion to approve the April 1st minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the April 1st minutes.
Right? Yeah.
Those in favor?
Yes, those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I
I'll
just
pull
totally,
the cue card up.
thank you, I just totally drew a blank. I was like,
Awkward
yeah.
silence.
I do have a question for Rick, though. If the the Timberlands, that is not Park and Rec responsibility, is that
Correct.
Okay. If there is, we have these, some of these Eagle Scouts building a bridge in Bittner Park. If there are parts of the Timberlands or that need to have such a project, such as building a bridge in that area, how does a Boy Scout get himself involved in proposing such a project?
For their, probably-
With the Guilford Land Trust, they have to go to them first?
Or Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission oversees timberlands. Do you know, Kathy? I think they do.
Yeah, it's a conservation.
Yeah, so it'd be probably to Kevin
Okay.
McGee, sending information
It's
to
town
him.
property, so it's nothing to do with the land trust.
Okay. Okay, no, I just, I hike the Timberlands quite frequently, and this past spring, there were at least 4 or 5 spots
Yeah,
warranting bridges
Yeah.
because the trails are just swamped.
Right.
So I didn't know if we had a way to help the Boy Scouts find projects. But if you're saying it's not our jurisdiction, then
Yeah,
they
that
have
would-
to do it on their own then.
Or go to Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin McGee, yeah.
Kevin Mickey.
Right.
All right.
Laura Collins is the chairman of the
Right.
Conservation Commission, but I don't know her phone number.
Okay.
Yeah, well, she's my
I can
next door
look
neighbor.
that up on the website.
Good.
Okay.
I can find her for
We
you.
get a pair of waterproof boots.
Well, it doesn't matter if they're over the ankles.
Gators.
I can tell you, the purple trail, the white trail, the red trail, all of them have issues with regard to swamping out.
They're all mud trails now.
They're all
right?
mud trails down in certain areas, down in the lower ends.
Sounds like some of our fields right now.
Okay, review and approval of expenditures for April. Any questions on that?
No.
I want to point out, the two Connecticut water ones on the first page that are identical at Jacobs Beach, and it's not, it's coincidence, it is. One is irrigation, and one is the domestic water. I double-checked that with Nancy, and said, no, those are two different bills, two different accounts. It's just really coincidental, they're exact same bill. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a, duplicate, it's not.
On page 3 out of 5, question on the dog waste depot. $1,200 for doggy bags.
Mhm.
Is that for the dog park and
It's
the green?
everywhere, yeah,
Everywhere.
and we get them in bulk.
So it's like a year supply, or?
Not quite, not a year probably
Okay.
half a year, but yeah, we get them for all the locations.
So what the guys carry on the trucks with them when they
Yes.
make their? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Somebody had a great article in the Shoreline Times about people that use the dog waste bags.
Yeah.
Use them, and then you can get them to the garbage can instead of just
Yeah. Yes.
leaving them.
Right.
I thought it was
I
very
saw that.
well written.
Yeah.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Right
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's annoying.
Yeah.
The dog people need to get the waste
Very.
to the garbage can.
Any other questions on this one? Okay. Anyone want to make the motion to approve April's expenditures in the amount of $108,694.65?
You make a motion to approve April bills?
I shall second Lawrence's motion there.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, department reports. Rick.
Excuse me. I'm just going to highlight a few, and if you have any questions on any, all of these are shout-outs, like the first one, Knights of Columbus, every year they donate money toward the Easter egg hunt that we do in the green, and they have 3, 4, 5 guys that help, they don't hide the eggs, but help gather them, or scatter them, for the kids to gather them. So appreciate the Knights of Columbus for their support on that. 13, the woodshop class installed the shelter at the dog park. That's Dave Hackett's woodshop class. They did they constructed over the years several projects. The guards station at Jacobs Beach, Quantapug, and the kiosk at Chittenden Park. Those are all done by the high school students. So it's great having the students working with the community, with us, to help provide something better and improvement for the community. And so that group did installed the shelter at the dog park. Earthfest, Ellen and Connor did an excellent job, as many of you know who went to it. In about a day and a half notice, we changed it from the fairgrounds to Baldwin School. We're thankful to Phil Ross at Baldwin for giving us the approval to go there. The custodian, Steve, there was great. But Ellen and Connor had to do a lot to get a hold of a lot of people, get the word out. The Board of Ed was fantastic in terms of reaching out to all the kids in the school system to let them know the change of venue. Youth Services had it on their email list, and Mitch sent it out to all the town employees. So the word got out, and we had a really decent turnout there, considering the change, and it also wasn't a great day. It was pretty cool and a little damp.
Was that the first time they had Touch a Truck?
Yes.
That was a draw.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
was calling their grandchildren to
Right.
tell them to go.
And we had the
down.
helicopter, the Yale New Haven helicopter
Yes,
was there, and that
yes.
was pretty special. And I guess those are it for the shout-outs, but also, I guess 15, you mentioned the 7 Eagle Scouts. That was a couple of weeks ago. 7 young men got their Eagle badges together from Troops 471 and 474. And I was privileged to attend that, as I normally do. But it's just amazing. Those kids were together since they were in Cub Scouts, like in second grade. And they all went up through the ranks, and here they are. They did, one big court of honor with all those kids together. It was really very, very special. So kudos for the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts too. It's the Boy Scouts that we're kind of been doing more with, so I'm not discrediting the Girl Scouts, but they're pretty amazing. The only else I'll point out is we have the benthic blankets in on number 17 there. Lake Quantapug, we put those in last Tuesday, I think it was. Yeah, it was Tuesday. We got a little break in the weather, we got it in, them in, and they'll be coming out the week right before Memorial Day. So those are to help keep the weeds down. They've been very, very effective in doing that. It smothers them so they don't grow back, and it's made a big difference in the swim area there the last, 4 or 5 years we've been doing it.
How are they weighted down?
Rebar, every 5 feet, so they're 10 feet long, 10 feet wide, 50 feet long. Every 10 feet, there's rebar, it's like a channel, the rebar goes through.
Yeah.
And that's what weights it down. So when we put them in, they kind of slowly just, sink down to the bottom. And it stays there until we pull them out.
Very cool. Any questions for Rich on his report? Tony's park foreman. Any questions about Tony Anicelli's report?
There's a lot in Tony's report here. You just see all the variety of what our guys do, and he doesn't list everything. But I do want to point out, third bullet from the bottom, that Tony went to the CPSI's Consumer Products. Wait, I didn't get this wrong here. It's certification for playground safety. Certified Playground Safety Inspection, that's what it is, an instructor. Certified Playground Safety Inspector, that's what CPSI is. And Tony has been one, and he had to be recertified, so he had to go up to East Hartford, take a course and a test, and he passed it, and he's certified to inspect our playgrounds. There is actually a certification process, and he's done it, so he did it again, so we're thankful that he has that.
Any other questions for Rick on Tony's report?
What's the mole scram added to Nut Plains area?
Yeah, that's, it's a product to help reduce the mole population, or at least get them to go somewhere else.
Yeah, thank you. Over to my lawn?
Their directional signs is the Sullivan residence this way.
Well, they have to cross to the graveyard first. But,
Yeah.
but in all seriousness, the moles that are on Nut Plains are intense.
Yeah.
And then the skunks come out
Right.
of the forest and attack the moles and the voles, and it just chews up the field.
Well, they go after the
terribly.
grubs, yeah.
Yeah, they're going for the grubs.
There's good grub in that field.
You gotta go there and referee it there, right?
The grubs are the killer on that field.
I don't know, so raccoons will, and skunks will attack moles.
Oh, yeah.
Really? No.
Did we have, I know we had a problem at Calvin Lee one year on the soccer field with the grubs and everything are in moles. Are we good there? Because, the fields look good. We've been playing.
Yeah, the grub dams we usually start seeing around early September.
Okay.
They may be in the ground now, but they're not, they're feeding more, when we get more into that time period, that's when we start seeing the damage. Yeah.
When you start mowing like my lawn, it's like the four-wheeler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, my lawn's that way now.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're coming
Yeah.
across.
Well, the sad thing is that the critters just rip the grass out by the roots.
Right.
And it's from that point on, there's nothing else that'll grow there.
There was a time, a former Little League president, many years ago, asked me if we rototilled the outfield of the Adams A Little League field. It was so torn up, it was from the skunks going after the grubs, and it really looked like we rototilled. It was just all dug up, over a period of a couple of days.
Okay, Ellen's report. Any questions for Rick on that, or comments?
If you don't mind me highlighting the last point there, communicating with field representatives, Ellen's been doing a great job. This spring has been really challenging with all the rainouts and trying to get reschedules, and everybody and their cousins and uncles and sisters and aunts want to use the synthetic turf field at the high school. It's the only one that's been playable. And so constant reschedules, and she started this a year or two ago, doing a good job of printing up the schedule for the week, the upcoming week. She might send it out on Wednesday, for next week, for example. Have everybody look at it and make sure that everybody, there's no other changes or whatever, that she's got it right, it's based on what their requests are, what we have in the computer, and gives an opportunity for the users to contact back and say, no, we canceled that game, or no, we rescheduled to whatever. So that's been a good improvement. It's been almost a full-time work just doing that this spring.
How's the interview
Yeah, has that
process
progressed?
going?
Oh, yeah, I was going to mention that in my report, too. We offered the job to Taryn Erb, Guilford resident. Judy was on the panel there. We had 20 applicants. We interviewed 8. And there were 2 that came, Taryn and another young man. When Mitch checked on some of the references and everything else, Taryn just came out stronger. And Mitch offered her the job, I think, Friday. I talked with her today, and we're hoping to get her here for May 22nd is when we're doing our camp in aquatics summer orientation. So Mitch likes starting people on a Monday. That's a Wednesday. We might push it a little bit. At least have her here for that, at the very least, to introduce her, have people introduced to her. Taryn directed our day camp for 4 or 5 years. She's been around for a while. She was worked for the Parks and Recreation Department in Old Saybrook for a year and a half, I think, mostly doing teen programming. And Judy, if you remember, one of the things she mentioned is that she had programs getting 100 teens coming out to a program. And that's always an area that any town can use a little more work on. Teens are a tough age to try to get attracted to programs, and she did it successfully there. And then she's been at the Cheshire YMCA for probably close to a year, I think, as a youth program coordinator there. So she's gotten some good experience. And she's a Guilford resident. Not going to have to drive an hour to
We
get
trained
here.
her. We began her training. Any other questions about Ellen's report? Okay, move on to seniors program. Terry Holland Buckley's.
Yeah, Terry's got a full report, like she does every month. One thing I will mention that is not on here, though, is this Friday is our seniors prom. And there are 62 people signed up so far. It's always a live band, and I don't think she's doing it this year, but one year we actually rented a limo, and seniors got a chance to take a ride in the limo down by the marina and come back, and it was, we're not doing that this year, but the theme is Born to be Wild.
You should go to the green for pictures.
Yeah, right, that's right. Yeah.
Well, that's great, 62 people signed up.
62, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Is, what's great? It's like what, most of us grew up with live band. It's not a DJ, and I think it's DJs for everything nowadays, but it's live music, and it always has been when we do the seniors prom.
What is the cost of the?
Oh, boy. I'd have to get back to you. I don't know off the top of my head. It's usually around $8, and that includes meal,
Cool.
entertainment.
$8 per-
$6 or $8 per person. Yeah.
And at what time does it start?
I believe at 5.
Are you coming, Tom? You getting your
I'm
picture?
trying to find a date, yeah. No.
It's 55 and older. I shouldn't call it seniors prom, but
It's the ARP program, yeah.
Any other comments or questions about Terry's report? Todd's report on the building. How's the roof, or that's on our camera, talk to you about that after.
Up on the roof.
Everything looks good, the building looks good.
yeah, Todd, he chips away at things, and I will mention, if you're under building furniture, we did order 38 new chairs. These chairs actually came from the library when they renovated over there. And all the black chairs we have, most of them are 26 years old now. And so the tops are starting to break on them, some are starting to snap and break off. This metal piece sometimes starts to break, gets weak and it breaks. So we ordered 38 more, and the ones we got are very nice. They're like a mesh seat. They're light, and there's a 10-year warranty on them. If we do as well as, those other ones we've had, we're talking 25 years. They lasted a long time. So we're starting to gradually replace them. And the other ones, the guys like, because they're very, very light. With one hand, you can easily pick it up, and they can grab 2 or 3 or 4 at a time and move them. So we got those, and we're going to look into start replacing some of these tables. I don't know if any here, but some of them, sometimes they're getting like splits in them, and they're just getting worn. They're used a lot. I mean, think of how many times these are set up and taken down every day in this room alone. More so downstairs with all the meals down there.
They make them a lot lighter now, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Well, not under building maintenance, but park maintenance, have been able to work out with Public Works to get the parking lots smoothed out?
They're going to do them before Memorial Day.
Okay,
They
cool.
know it, yeah. The ones we target are the beach, Quanapug, both beaches, Nut Plains, and Chittenden.
Chittenden.
And Long Hill, I think is okay. I got to look at Long Hill. I think
Long Hill's
not too
okay.
bad.
When you're at the Nut Plains, when you come out of the parking lot, there's a little bit of a trench there that you have to.
Coming out?
Coming out.
Onto Nut Plains Road?
Coming out on the Nut Plains Road. If you're turning right, exactly.
Okay. We'll look at that.
I think that washes out all the way along there, because further down, the entrances to Nut Plain Cemetery are always getting washed out, so I don't know whether it's downhill or...
Excuse me.
Okay, moving on to 7, reports from commission. Standing Fields Committee, John and Rick.
John and Rick.
Take it, John.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I missed part of the meeting last week, but I was able to recover some of the information. One of the things that we had to do right now is which is Cox North? Is that the field
the
on the
right.
right or
Yeah.
to the left?
Right.
To the right, okay. The Cox fields are having issues and troubles where the grass is not growing, and it's the problems with the irrigation up there as well. So I was up there to officiate some soccer games, and I walked the fields with another member of the Standing Fields Committee, and we just looked at them and just said that these fields need to be closed in order to get the grass to grow again and to make it playable. The grass was sparse. There was an issue with some of the irrigation not being at the proper depth when it was initially installed. So that has caused a little bit of a scramble right now, and I have to give Rick and Anthony credit that they have come up with some solutions to have the Soccer Club of Guilford and any other team finding alternative places to play soccer. One of them is at Long Hill, Long Hill Fields, and where they put a soccer field where the football practice field is. Okay. More games, unfortunately, this Sunday, I'll give you just a personal review. I have been scheduled to do soccer games for the Soccer Club of Guilford the last 4 Sundays. The last 4 Sundays we got rained out. So those games have to be made up, especially if you're dealing with cup games and with travel team. Some of them got moved to the high school field, but others they have to be rescheduled. And all that does is put a little bit more stress on the remaining fields, because now you have to get your games in a shorter time period.
Does it have to, do the games have to be in Guilford? I mean, can the other towns share?
If it's local soccer club Guilford games, they're not going to be able to take their games to Brantford or to Madison or somebody else. They have to be done here. They can offer to go to the other club may offer to ask Guilford to come to them. But there are some rules of the road with regard to the Connecticut Junior Soccer Association as to what the policies are with regard to rainouts. Of course, we're missing the other turf field. That's still under repair. That's taken a little bit of a quiet turn right now because there was an issue with some of the stone that was being brought in not being of the proper grade. So Paul Schmidt and Rick has inspected it, and I understand now it's ready to roll, or is it still?
It's rolling. It's almost done.
Okay.
Putting the stone down.
But they had to, and the weather has been a problem for them as well. Okay. Because if they mess up the pitch of the field during the rain, you've got to go back to square one again. So It's moving forward. It will be ready for the fall season. But in the meantime, it's still work in progress right now.
Any questions for John? Okay, Green Committee, Rick?
They met a couple weeks ago, and they're working on a policy on monuments and benches, and they're kind of, I shared what our policy is about how to go about getting approvals, according to the policy we have, and they're looking at that. And then also the Performing Arts Committee, Guilford Performing Arts Committee came to the last meeting, and they're going to be having a tent on the green as one of their venues for their concerts and all their performances, which are September, I think, 26th through 29th. It's like a Thursday through Sunday. I believe that's somewhere in that date, so around that time. They're using our building as they did 2 years ago. It's going to be kind of their headquarters. I think they're using this room for like meet and greet for all the performers, and they have somebody that's stationed here like the whole time. And I think they have, I don't know, something like 30 or 40, maybe even 50 different venues, like all over town, churches, schools, library, and maybe not 50, but it's a lot. A barn, some of the businesses on the green. They got maybe it's 50 performances. That's what it is, not 50 venues. They got quite a schedule lined up, and but anyway, so that's one of these. The Green Committee approved them putting a tent on the green, which actually the Board of Selectmen approves, but the Green Committee's recommending that it's okay. They have no issue with it, and that'll be sort of a performance spot too. So.
Claire, if I could go back just one step back to the Standing Fields Committee. This past weekend, they had a walkthrough on the fields on Saturday and Sunday. And when I get their report as to what the conditions they found during their walkthrough, I'll present that for the June meeting.
Well, I was there Saturday. We didn't do Sunday because of the rain, but I walked it with them on Saturday, and we covered the high school fields, Long Hill, and Cox. And yeah, Paul, he's written up a little summary of it. It's not a lot of major issues. One of the things we have to find out is at Long Hill, if nobody's using that shed, somebody ripped the door off the shed there anyway. That was the senior baseball put up there.
Or was that not the football one?
No, the baseball one, the little one by the batting cage. So I'm trying to find out from Jake, do they use it? I mean, there's some stuff in there, but it's an eyesore, really. And if nobody's using it, we should just get it out of there. The same thing with the batting cage. The net's been down for like 2 or 3 years, maybe 4, since some snowstorm, I think, it knocked it down. And in the past, it's always been senior baseball that maintained it. It was never Parks and Rec's responsibility to maintain those amenities. And so we got to find out if they're going to use it or want to use it. They're not using it now because it's been down for a few years. If not, we'll just take it out of there.
What about those 2 trailers that were sitting at
Long Hill?
At Long Hill.
Yeah, those are still full of the light bulbs, and it's part of that energy efficiency project that the school and town are doing.
Okay.
And originally, those were supposed to be out last November. That was the original agreement I had with them. It may be this November. They're still there, and they're still not done with all the lighting project. That's what they're for.
Okay, land acquisition is me, nothing I can comment on. Community center improvements, that's usually Rose. Did she give you anything?
No, just the Todd, what we saw from Todd.
Okay. Splash pad is me. We did hear back from Tim Sheenan that we met with, that took us to the 3 parks to have him decide or give us an idea of what he would suggest would be the best place to have it. His report came back from the same as what we kind of talked about at the location that he is recommending, Bittner Park. We do need to do a feasibility study to make sure that we can actually do it there. And we'll probably, he did give us a quote on building it and everything, but we need to get 3 bids on that. So we, as a commission, need to make a...
bids for the feasibility study?
To build it.
Well, for the design, right now, for the design part of it.
Okay, so are you in a study right now?
No, we
or-
need to do a study, that's what, my motion, we need to make a motion for this commission to spend money to do a feasibility study. If we still think a splash pad is a good idea for Guilford.
I think, do you mind if I add to that,
Yep.
Claire? I think the point is that he's recommending Bittner Park. We've got to make sure there's enough flow in the gallons in the well, and he's made some suggestions for a tank and so on. But I think that before we go too far in having something designed, make sure it can definitely work there.
Because we all agreed that though Jacobs Beach would be great location for it because so many kids are down there, it just didn't work location-wise with the water and having to put a tank. We did find out, though, if we did circulation, it was not considered a pool. So that was one of our things that we were worried about with the circulation, that we would need to be, one of our guys would need to be pool,
Like the lifeguard.
well, certified in cleaning the pool, and they would have to be there constantly to test the waters to make sure that the levels were right. He did find out that that is not the case, but it still doesn't make sense to have it there with all the things that we'd have to do.
If it was that big,
And
would
look-
it have to be fenced in?
No,
perimeter
because
would-
we thought with it having recirculation and being considered a pool that we had to fence it, and we don't have to fence it. That would be our choice with our design, whether we thought that it was a safety feature that we needed.
I think, just again, my clarification, I think he was, there's three different options. One's called flow-through, where the water just through it just goes down and drains into a drain somewhere. If it's full recirculation with a filtration system and all that, with that, you do need to treat it like a pool, if there's a filtration system. But I think the circulation system he's talking about is, it would go into a tank and then be reused as irrigation, pumped out as irrigation. So with that,
Have to.
that's what he's recommending, which we would not have to treat it like a pool. But like Claire said, if it's considered the other type, where you're reusing the water over and over again, somebody has to go to a certified pool operators course. You have to have showers there, which is kind of odd because it's a splash pad, but you got to take a shower before you go in the splash pad. That's what they say. But and it's treated just like you have to treat a swimming pool.
The waste, or I don't call it waste, the water that's being used then would be returned in the form of irrigation water? So would it have to be stored in the tank?
Yes.
I would imagine.
That's one of the suggestions, yeah.
And would it be stored in a tank for its initial use as well? Or is it just stored after it's used? Because we do obviously have water coming into that facility with the bathrooms there.
Right. You know, that's a good question. I think something we have to clarify,
Yeah, I'm just-
Mark, because I read his proposal, and it almost sounded like the well would top off the tank, so that, in that case, he's talking about, almost sounds like he's talking about fill the tank from fire department, or, something, fill it, and then the well would kind of, top it off, but,
So then we would need 2 tanks.
right, because then where does that water then, how do you get rid of that water? Where's it gonna go? That's what originally he was talking about, I think, tapping into the well, if there was enough pressure and water recovery in that well, to serve the splash pad, and then from there it was gonna go into a storage tank that we could send out for irrigation. So it'd be reused.
That's not city water.
No, it's a well,
That's a well.
yeah.
Do we have any idea what the flow would be? How many gallons per minute, or?
That's what he's got.
It would depend on our features.
Right.
And the splash pad committee is not looking to have a huge one that fills a bucket and dumps on you. It's more like just a couple flower heads or something. So like, I think Mandy said 6 small
Because I
heads.
know we've had issues in the past with Bittner with the not getting enough irrigation up for the fields, up in the adult softball field and the soccer field, because the water level comes out of the West River, and the West River just, during the summertime, especially during August and September, just dries up.
This is a separate well. This is the well that services the bathroom, so it's a different
Okay.
well. The water you're talking about does go from the river to the fields. This would be water coming from the well, that is the drinking water and the
Oh,
domestic
potable
water.
Okay.
Yeah, separate well.
I'm just not, well, I mentioned it when we did our walk, and somebody said, oh, they don't do men's softball anymore. But the positioning of where it's going to be is right in center field, and men's softball could come back to being, and I'd be nervous of having all these little kids. I mean, I know they play softball early evening, but just if kids are up there 4 o'clock, 5, is there gonna be a conflict of balls flying into the splash pad?
So
It's not very safe.
We do have men's softball again. There was a league that's playing this spring up there. It's a combination of Madison, Guilford, and they're playing a couple days a week, and there's a Little League place there. Little League, I don't think, they don't hit it out there, but.
No, but the men do.
They do,
The
but,
men.
we would monitor the hours, which wouldn't be open in the evening at all. But to your point, if kids are just hanging around there, playing around, the water will be on. But we did talk with Tim Sheehan there, the designer, that he just talked about, putting some netting up above that part of the fence, go higher up, maybe another 20 feet if we have to keep softballs from going there. Because to your point, Judy, that's why we moved the playground out of there years ago down to where it is now. I was there one night, and 6 home runs came over that fence into that playground.
Well, it was making, just learning where it was
Yeah.
gonna be.
Right. But again, it would not be open when softballs.
Softball in the evening, it would be just during the
Softball's gonna
day.
be an evening sport after 7 o'clock at night. Right now, they're looking at their original schedule's gonna be around 8:15 will be their one and only game. The other thing, two other things, that outfield fence on the left-hand side from center field all the way over to the left field, that has been extended considerably since the days that the balls were flying into the playground. And the other thing is the technology of the league has changed, where they don't use the same explosive bats, and they don't use the same ball that has the same amount of compression in it. So and they're using wooden bats now rather than using metal bats.
That was, aluminum or whatever.
Yeah, those bats, they don't, they're not used anymore. Not in Madison, not in Guilford, not in Clinton. So the ability of a gentleman to hit the ball over the fence right now it would be quite a feat, because for one thing, it's 300 feet now, and then you added an additional 15 feet to the top of it, so that ball would have to go at least 350 feet.
That one ball
It's
to
all
it
day.
in.
If they decide, like, if we decide to go through, who's gonna pay for it?
Splash pad, not our subcommittee, but Mandy has, a mom in the town has people that are fundraising. that
For
will
the
cover.
feasibility study, are you looking for funding for that?
Yeah.
What's the dollar amount, do you know?
We don't have that yet. We have a quote for the full design, but not for the feasibility. We have to go back to them and get that.
And
It seems like a lot of rigmarole to get, basically, the kids to run through a shower.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I mean, to me,
Hoses over.
the perfect spot is down at Jacobs Beach, right? But you can't have it there. But I don't know, man. It seems like a lot of rigmarole for kids that run through a garden hose. I mean, I don't know.
I think he looked at the pros and cons of both. So we like Jacobs Beach too. There are a lot of good reasons to have it down there, but there are a lot of reasons not to.
Yeah.
And he, he's the guy that does these things. And
Seemed like more of a water source thing than.
Well, that and damage from storms. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, the parking lot there gets completely flooded if we have a good storm. So then, I mean, that's just,
It could be a problem too. I mean, now you gotta pump water out of the ground as opposed to city water. I mean, just for a splash pad, I don't know. It's like a lot of.
So can we vote on feasibility study without actually having a dollar amount for the feasibility study, or?
yeah, I can't imagine if my guess I can't imagine it's more than $2,500. I don't think.
so we can make a motion that the commission can spend, a certain amount of money. And if we comes back that it's over that, then we have to revote.
Maybe well less than that. I just don't.
Right, and it could be less than that.
Where would that come from? Which bucket would that come from?
I guess initially program account. Yeah.
So I guess we can make a motion to fund a feasibility study up to $2,500. I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Anyone want a second?
Second.
And for those of you that don't know where it is, if you're standing in the parking lot by the softball field, it's the only cement slab to the right of the concession stand. So it's got a slab and then a piece of grass in the middle with one tree, so we would have to take that tree down. Yep.
There's a way to put a sprinkler within the tree. One of the features.
It's gonna have to Claire to turn it on and off all day long.
That'll be my job.
It's your job.
It's fine, I'm looking for a new one. All right, any other comments or questions about that? Till next month? Okay. Unfinished business, 8A disc golf course.
So there was a motion, but there was no vote.
Oh, sorry.
Did we vote on that?
Yeah, she made the motion, you second, sorry.
Seconded, but then you need it.
Yes, I forgot, sorry, all in favor? Okay.
Aye.
Sidetracked on showing
I'll
where it
vote-
was.
I vote no.
I vote on the edge.
Well, do we want to table that then and get the actual quote and come back? Since we have two not fully yes on that?
It's up to you. I mean, the majority voted for it, but whatever you want to do, we need to get a quote anyway, no matter what. So if you want to put it off, that's whatever you guys want to do.
You guys not feel comfortable with us getting the quote, or do you?
I just don't think it's a good idea to put one there, and it seems like you're gonna go through a lot of trouble, a lot of money just to put up whether it's our money or somebody else's money, just to have a splash pad up there. I don't know. I just think it's a bad idea all around.
It just seems like it's out just there. It just doesn't seem like
Yeah,
it
just doesn't seem like a good-
fits.
doesn't seem like a good spot for it.
Well, so,
But
one of the others he suggested is that maybe we put like a little picnic shelter up there. I don't know if you're going to address that later, Claire, under Park Master
Yeah.
Plan, but, which, there's no picnic place at Bittner Park, and it does make sense, we should have, why send everybody to Jacobs all the time? And so, we probably should do a little picnic shelter anyway, it's not necessarily as big as what we have at Jacobs, but something, for a picnic place. And then, that would be a shelter we could rent out, like we rent out Jacobs Beach, and part of that, birthday parties. We get birthday parties all the time in the summer down at Jacobs. It might take some of the pressure off of Jacobs, we send them to Bittner, but what's the amenity? Oh, there's a splash pad. So it's could be another attraction there. So those are some of the thoughts.
More sense. A little bit more sense.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about building a pavilion now on that?
A small one, not like at Jacobs, but probably a little bigger than we just did at the dog park. That's 15 by 15, I think.
That might be a nice Eagle Scout project,
Mhm.
or is it too big for it?
The one at Quantapug was built by an Eagle Scout.
It just seems like $2,500, that's a good amount of
Yeah,
money
do you-
to.
like, I guess I think of well, because, I have a well too, but like, do you worry about the pressure on the well of pump, like the constant?
Well, that would be-
Yeah,
that's
that's what
the
needs to be a
feasibility
feasibility
study is.
Okay.
Because, they can
Yeah.
come back and say,
Say, right.
we totally need to do the recirculation one,
Right.
so that we're not, which could
Wear it out
possibly
our-
change our whole
our
idea of
pump.
having one
Yeah.
to begin with. So,
I think it really
Sorry.
Go ahead, Sue.
we would go with Tim Sheenan,
Okay.
because he,
Yeah, you don't have to get bids for a study, so.
No.
Yeah.
but
It's
if we
smaller.
go farther than that, then we would need the 3 bids. But- So are we good with, or do you want to table it with Rose?
Again, I just think that if we're going to move in any direction at all for.
Right, we have to
You're gonna
get
have
it
to do
done,
that
We
study.
no
need
matter
to do
what.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
and find out if it's even worth trying to do it. And then if it's not, they say, it's gonna cost, $300,000 to put one up there, then that's probably not happening,
Yeah,
Or Mandy has a big job, raising a lot
My
of
personal
money.
opinion, I think studies are worth the money to do, just to make sure it's actually something you want to go forward
Well,
with,
I'm all for the feasibility study, not just for the splash pad, but like for our master plan, when we get talking
Yeah.
about that, there's other things that we could do up there. We're gonna need to know about our well. So
Yeah.
whether we do it now for a splash pad, or we do it 3 years now from when we're having a new pavilion, a new
Yeah.
concession stand, new irrigation, we're gonna have to do the study. So it's whether we do it now or 3 years from now for everything else.
It makes more sense to do it now if you're gonna.
Well, now we have the people that, we have a group of people that are willing to do the fundraising. if it goes through.
Now, for some reason, like 50 grand comes up top, man, like,
For-
for splash pad, is that crazy, or?
That would be a pretty big one with a lot of spigots.
So how much are we talking to build one?
Well, Tim's proposal right now, with everything, was about 18,
That's just for the design.
the design.
Yeah.
So you're,
18 just for the design?
Design, bid specifications, and then overseeing the bid, and then overseeing construction.
So they're gonna be able to raise that kind of money?
they feel that they can.
Wow.
So, I mean, and then it comes back to us whether we want to let them or not after the feasibility and everything else. It's still our choice whether we say to this group, yes, go ahead and fundraise. And we want the splash pad there, but we could come back and say feasibility-wise with the well and what we need to do with that and then the cost of it with their design. We can say no.
I mean, at this point, I would say that, okay, we need the feasibility study on the well anyway, just to determine the baseline as to what we can or cannot
Right.
do there. But $18,000 for a splash pad, that buys a lot of tickets to lake compounds. I mean, you could send them up to get wet up there.
But I mean,
I just,
He may be high.
$18,000 is.
He may
is
be
a-
high, and you go out to bid, and, for design and for construction.
And what he's, thinking about design, could totally,
yeah, but if you're saying, well, we're gonna spend $2,500, we're gonna need that study anyway, but you can't justify spending $2,500 specifically for the splash pad, and then in the same breath say, well, we need a feasibility study up there anyway. I mean, that's.
It's been a long time since we've done anything
Yeah, but you-
specific up at Bittner Park.
Yeah, but you-
But at the same time, we have issues up there with regard to the well. We have issues with regard to irrigation coming from the West River. Maybe this will solve it, maybe it won't, but at least it'll tell us
Well,
where we
that-
can and cannot,
well,
what
that's
we
the-
can and cannot do.
Yeah, if that's the case, then we do a feasibility study for the whole kit and caboodle. You can't justify spending $2,500 on a feasibility study for a splash pad, and then in the same breath, I don't repeat myself, well, we're gonna need it anyway. Well, then if that's the case, then let's have a feasible study for the whole.
okay, would you feel better if we did it under the master plan topic then? Because that's going to be one of my things
No,
on there.
it's the feasibility study for the splash pad, that's it.
What's the scope of the feasibility study?
There you
So
go,
what are they
thank you.
going to, what are they going to assess? Are they going to look at this splash pad area, proposed area, and the pump that currently serves the restroom? Is that,
It's all
or are
connected.
they talking about looking at the park?
Well, they're
Right,
going
that's
to, the
here.
well
Yeah.
does the concession stand, the bathrooms and everything, so it would have to include looking at how much it pumps in there. Is the water even running? Because it doesn't really run that well in the bathroom sometimes, so it's like, we need to know that.
Yeah. When was the park, when was that pump probably done?
1983?
Pump is new. Pump was just put in last fall. We had to replace it because it died.
80.
I guess what I'm trying to say is
It had just
you
over-
voted on having a motion to have a feasibility study, $2,500 on a splash pad, but now after the fact, we're gonna say, well, we need it anyway. You can't say that, I mean, that's,
Well, it wasn't that we need it anyways, it was going to benefit us. It's going to kill two birds with one stone. We have a group of parents right now that came to us, we agreed
Yeah.
to look at splash pad locations and building one in Guilford. So this is part of fulfilling that ask that we agreed to do. We all voted on that and said, yes, go ahead, and we made a subcommittee. So that is part of fulfilling that need. We also, as a commission, benefit from that because we do need to do one because we do have running water there. We are looking to, with our master plan, hopefully expand the usage of Bittner Park, which we've already done with adding a disc golf course. We have the skate park, pickleball. So we are increasing the usage of that spot, and we do have bathrooms there. So, I mean, we need to make sure our bathrooms are always running. So it's a beneficial thing for us on both sides.
Yeah, especially with disc golf going up there. I mean, yeah, I definitely could see the need for it. It probably should have been something we factored in even for
while
that
ago.
a while ago, yeah.
Especially when we added the skate park and
Yeah.
all that, and we redid it.
I mean, I think it's just, this is part of due diligence. We have to do that. I mean, you can't expect this volunteer organization to fund the study when we don't even know if you'll be able to go
Right.
through with it. So that's,
So, I mean, it is our responsibility, since we did say yes to this group,
Yeah.
that we are interested in having a splash pad and go ahead and look.
I have a question with, I don't know if it's going to involve Rick or,
Yeah.
but there have been times when I was running the concession stand up there for Little League years and years ago, that the town sanitarian would come up and post signs saying that the water was not
potable.
potable. Is that part of this $2,500 that we would be looking into, to see whether or not the water is actually suitable for
We could
personal use?
include that in the scope.
Right.
Well, it is, it's tested quarterly.
Right.
By
Okay.
state law, we have to test it quarterly, so we know it's drinkable.
Okay.
It is.
But there, I
Yeah.
have seen the signs posted
Yeah.
up there.
It
Is
is.
that because they came right after we opened up the park after the winter, or?
No, it's a state law now that any wells, Quantapug and Bittner, we have to test 4 times a year.
Okay.
So Dennis Johnson, our health director, does it. He takes a sample and sends them out, and they determine, and we've been good, we haven't had any problems with the water.
Okay.
There or at Quantapug.
That's fine. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that the water is.
It is.
Yeah, we
It's
would have
good.
to
It's
test it,
suitable.
obviously, because we would be using it
Right.
Yes,
for.
absolutely, but, you don't want to just
No.
draw any drop of water out of the ground.
Yeah, we don't need that.
You know, I'm just thinking as we're talking, maybe part of the feasibility study includes some test pits to make sure, if we do have to put a tank in the ground, is there ledge under there? Can we get it? Can we get a 20,000 gallon tank, take some samples, and there's a lot of electrical underground there, make sure that we're away from that, that big box outside the ladies' room there, that's where all the electricity comes in
Mhm.
for the park. So I think those
all
kinds of things
underground.
would
It's
be
all
part of the feasibility study too, to make sure that it's everything, can it work there? Not just is there enough water, but can that space handle this project?
Well, that might be a call before you dig a project.
Oh, I'm
that
sure they'll
part,
have to.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
because that's all underground
Right.
utilities there.
Yeah, all this again does come back into scope even with the addition of some pavilion
Right.
in the future. You'd still have to do.
Right.
So you're looking at me, you still haven't convinced me, I still vote no.
And then I always bring
Well,
up
that's good. No
the
group thinks on
maintenance,
that.
I always try to look to the future for the maintenance of, if we start getting cracks in the concrete or, that always has to be considered too, obviously.
And that is something that when we get further down the line, and if we get the tests back and, it's a go, that's something we again have to come back as a group to decide, is Bittner Park where it's going? Do we even want it? And then we would have to talk to that group about, okay, we'll happily have it, you have to pay for it, and you have to maintain it. I mean, that will be a
Like the
discussion.
dog park.
Yeah, that'll be a discussion
Yeah.
between. So, since we have the majority, we will go ahead with the feasibility, if you can find out how much that will be.
Yep, I'll get a couple numbers, I'll talk to a couple of other engineers.
Hopefully it'll be way under what we think.
I think it will be.
Okay. Disc golf.
Okay, so there's a tournament May 18th. Our designer Craig Smolin is going to get portable baskets and put them out all over the course, at all 18 fairways. And I like his idea because before we have the final design and have the Boy Scout, who's doing it as a project, Eagle Project, put the baskets in, he wants people to come, he wants other eyes to try it out, not just his, and get people who play and evaluate the way he has it laid out, and maybe they say, oh, geez, the basket's here, move it on the other side of the tree, or put it 10 feet farther back, or whatever. He wants to get input from users. I think that's a great idea. So he's doing that on the 18th. I think as of today, he has 28 signed up. He was hoping to get 70. But he's got 28 right now, all levels. I think there are some women, beginners, recreational level players, advanced players, and pro players, all different levels that are signing up. So it's substantially done. I mean, there's still some, Lawrence was out there with Todd and me one Saturday. We did a lot of clearing of dragging back brush that had been cut down and moving them aside. There's still 3 or 4 fairways that some work needs to be done. and just haven't been able to get, well, we haven't had a lot of good weekend days lately to get a group out there to do it. But anyway, he's gonna do this tournament no matter what, even if there's some brush they gotta step over, they're gonna do it. So it's coming along, and we have 5 Eagle Scouts. 4? The kiosk is done, that was James Crossley. You know, Carson's gonna do the signs, the posts, as he just mentioned. Michael Neese is doing the bridge. In fact, Wednesday night, we have Inland Wetlands Commission to go to for their final approval of that project. His goal is to have that done by August or September. And we met out there a couple Saturdays ago with the Wetlands Commission, and I think they're going to be, the group that was there was very supportive of it, so I'll be very surprised if they have any issues with that bridge.
Please don't let them.
You know, well, here's one of the selling points that I'll say Wednesday night that I also said to the group that was there, is that you might say that people have been crossing over that stream for decades. They have. It's a hiking trail. But the day we went was a perfect day to be out there. It was roaring, and the rocks that are usually visible in the middle weren't.
Yeah.
They were totally underwater. And I remember one time when we took a walk out there with the commission, Rose got her foot wet. She stepped in it. She slipped off the rock. Fortunately, she didn't fall, but she stepped in it and got wet. And more importantly, now we're inviting people to come and use that. It's not just a hiking trail anymore. Now we have activity, the disc golf course, so we're encouraging the people to come and play. We have a higher standard of care to make sure that it's safe for people to cross that stream. And there are 4 or 5 other bridges all over the park in other areas, and so it just makes sense. This is another one. So I don't see any reason they would not support it. So, you know, I'll kind of express that opinion to them.
Rick, what time is the tournament on May 18th? Do you know what time
I think it's starting at 9. He's got the schedule all day long.
And also, I was wondering, I mean, who is this promoted to, or who was asked?
He's got it on there's like disc golf Facebook pages, you know.
Like he's
all over the
doing
state.
that to try and get people who are
Yeah.
players.
Interestingly, I got a call from a guy who just moved here from Oregon. He saw on a national website, Binder Park Disc Golf Course, so he called me and said, so I'm up at Binder Park for the disc golf course, where is it? I said, well, it's not done yet, you know, he said he walked, he said he found most of it, he did walk around, you know, but he didn't find any baskets or anything. I said, no, we're not there yet, it's under construction, but, and I did tell him about the tournament, he says he's gonna sign up for it, but.
Do we have it on the town page?
I haven't seen
Or
it.
on our website?
The tournament?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we do, actually, we should do that, because Craig, the registration goes through him. Yeah.
People.
Yeah, Todd created a Facebook page for Guilford Disc Golf too, so I can make sure, I think he put it on there, I'll double check though.
So everybody who's going to be playing the disc golf course has to bring their own disc, is that correct?
Yeah.
We're not supplying discs, we don't have a,
No, but we're encouraging a couple businesses in town, they should plan on getting them and selling them.
okay.
You can get an inexpensive one for $5. So this is the tournament he's doing to kind of just get people coming to look at it. When we officially open it, we have the signs and everything all done, the tee pads, and we have the synthetic turf from the high school project. We got a lot of that, so we're going to use those for the tee boxes. And we have the baskets, you know, we just have to Eagle Scout put them in once Craig has the final spot where he wants them to go. Then I think we'd like to do a grand opening, kind of like we did when we renovated the skate park. Remember, we had, you know, the moon bounces, and we had a band and food, and we'll make it an event, and, you know, introduce the community to disc golf, and, you know, it won't be like a $30 charge. I think, you know, these charges something like $37 for this tournament, because there's prizes and everything else, but I'm thinking more like, let's make it a miniature golf tournament, just everybody, kids, families, come out and play, and maybe charge them $5 and give them a disc or something, or something like when we did the tournament at Guilford Lakes Golf Course a couple of years ago. We gave out shirts, and it said, I discovered Guilford Lakes Golf Course, disc, highlighted disc, and so we'll have I discovered the Bittner Park Golf Course, and eventually maybe we'll come up with a name for it, but.
Maybe we should buy some of our own discs, just to, if you're going to have an extravaganza like that.
Yeah, we used to have a bunch in that closet right there. I don't know if they're gone now, but we were giving them out. Well, part of the $10 fee paid for the disc, and the other $5 went to the golf course. So,
Rick, there is a Facebook page, Guilford, Connecticut Disc Golf Course, but there hasn't been anything posted on it since it looks like last year. just
All right, well,
about
that's
it
gotta
up and
get on
coming,
there
so
then.
maybe if it can go on there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I don't have time created that one, but we'll make sure it gets on there.
Well, the other thing is you want to be able to cap the number of participants? I mean, you don't want to have 250.
Well, 72 is the max.
Okay,
Oh,
that
it
should be
is,
only.
Four
okay.
per hole.
Yeah, that should be the
Yeah.
only information there.
Right.
so. That the first
Right, yeah,
72 will be
four.
able to go off, not the first 200.
And you do a shotgun, just like you do in a golf tournament, you send them out to different holes. So that's his, but again, I think we should have a grand opening when we do it. Like I said, when we did it at the skate park, get interest in it, get people from the community, families to come out and try it. And even if they don't do all, 18 holes, it's about a 3-mile walk, and it's a hike. It's some of it's mountain climbing, you're going up real steep
Going up the red trails.
areas, and it's going to be a good course. The guy who said he walked part of it today, the guy from Oregon, said, yeah, this is going to be an awesome course. So I think it's a good design. Craig did a nice job with it.
Any other questions about disc golf for Rick?
Rick, have you been in touch with, I can't remember Dave's last name right now, but the sign design? It's Dave, Craig's friend, great Dave.
I know, I saw the design.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I-
nice. The
I
logo?
saw it too,
Yeah.
yeah. It looks nice.
Yeah.
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 Good.
Okay, moving on to 8B roof replacement, are we done?
Well, I think this is the last time we're going to have it on the agenda. It's basically done. I'm just waiting to get the final
I
bill.
think we've said that before.
Yeah, I know. Well, there were some issues with some gutters, downspouts in the front here that they came back and they fixed it. And I think we're done. And so I just got to get the sign off from the architect and make the last payment, and we're finished with it. Hopefully, we'll not see this on the agenda again.
8C synthetic turf.
Well, we'll see it on here until they finish it.
Yeah.
And when it's done, but it ain't done yet.
So I go to weekly job meetings. We meet every Tuesday morning up there with the contractor and the architect and Paul Schmidt, or John Kennedy, anybody from the field committee. The carpet was delivered last Friday. They are making good progress in spite of the weather. But I'll tell you, this spring is perfect reason why we need that field. And last spring was the same thing. And, you mentioned how Cox, lacrosse got booted off of Cox too, in the North Field. And I think it affects all sports, because all the sports that we now are putting on the fields, those other fields are getting more worn out, especially with the weather we've been having, because we don't have the turf field to use. And one of the biggest groups that is most impacted is youth lacrosse, because they were on there 7 days a week. After the high school was done, youth lacrosse had it every night, Saturdays and Sundays, as a field that they used 7 days a week, and that's 7 days a week, they're somewhere else now. But it's coming along, they're making good progress. There was an issue that we had a conference call today about how the backing was going to be done, stitching versus gluing, and that was resolved. And
What
as I
did we
said,
have before?
the specification was for stitching, and I believe they are going to use the same specification as what was before. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I was just on the phone about it today. I had a lot of phone calls since then. I'm trying to remember what we decided, but whatever was specified, I think everyone's agreeing, let's do the same thing. So it's coming along, and they're making decent progress.
Anything else on Upper Cox Fields?
Yeah, one thing, so, as you know, we've been trying to get the ownership of the two upper fields 100% under Parks and Recreation, not part of school grounds. By doing that, we can manage the turf, have a different turf management plan, that we can do things in parks that we can't do on school grounds. The Board of Ed, my understanding is, has approved that. I got an email from Matt today that Matt approves it. He's supportive of it. The Board of Ed is supportive of it. So I think what we need to do is have our commission take a formal vote to say, yes, we want to take that over as a park. And eventually we have to rename it. So Matt had and Pam Millman had a conversation with somebody from DEP, just to make sure that they were 100% sure this was not an issue as far as using herbicides, because it's been considered school grounds, and if it's a park, we can do it. DEP person, I had an email from them, a conversation with them. They had no problem with it, no issue with it. Matt and Pam had a conversation, a conference call with her, and they're fine with it. And so, but she made it clear we should probably clearly separate it from Cox School should no longer be called Cox Upper Fields. We'll have to come up with another name in accordance with the policy that we have. We have a policy for naming fields, but then that has to go to the Board of Selectmen. Let's say, you're going to name it,
Heritage Fields,
you know,
Veterans Fields. Have a contest with the school kids.
Jagelski's Jogging Ground, or whatever you want to call it, or something.
They'll never get
Because he
funded.
jogs up and down there a lot, roughing games. But then whatever we want to name it, then we have to go back to the Board of Selectmen for them to name it. I think for tonight, if we can take the commission vote that, yes, we want that to become a park, then he'll take it to the Board of Selectmen.
And did they have any specifications on, do we have to gate it? Do we have to
Right.
put signage up to make sure
Probably
people
signage
know
to make
that?
it clear as a distinction, but, the first order was to get, 100% confirmation from the school system that they don't use it for the kids. I got that from Dr. Freeman, the Board of Education, the school principal, school phys ed teacher. None of that, they don't use it at all. I want to make sure you don't do a run up there, as part of phys ed class. They don't go up there at all.
But would the hours that it can be used be affected because it's next to a school?
Probably,
Because you have to
you
access it.
have to go through
You have
school
to
grounds
access
to
it
get
through
there.
the school. Because didn't you say the high school students,
They use it.
they
Yeah.
use it?
Right. But that's okay. School ground, high school level, you can use chemicals to treat.
No, but I mean,
weeds
for
and
like,
stuff.
do they use it while Cox is still in session?
They're
Between
there,
that
probably
time?
what, 2:30, 2:45? So maybe a little
They're-
over that.
They're just as.
They're there
when
anyway,
Apple
already.
Cox is dismissing.
Yeah.
So does that matter though, because they're students on passing through?
I guess not, because they've been doing it for years, since the girls'
No, but I
high
mean,
school
if we
team.
take it over.
Right, and it becomes a park
Because
now.
then it's a park.
Yeah, I
And
don't
then
know,
they're-
that's a good question. I have a meeting with Dr. Freeman tomorrow about something else, but I could ask that. But I think, I don't see how that would make any difference. I mean, the reality is, they've been using it anyway, and they're high school students going up there. But the general use is weekends and after-school hours, when youth sports are there. It's like, what, 5 o'clock usually, right? Mark, 5 o'clock you guys start normally? So it's after schools, they're gone.
So it's just a matter of putting up a sign there, right? I mean, just
Well,
the
yeah,
hours
well,
and that, yeah.
when this process is all done, we'd have to call it something else. It
Yeah.
can't be called Cox Upper.
No, as far as putting up there, like the general public can't use it during school hours.
Right.
Yeah, so you just put a sign there that says,
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have signs anywhere else. We don't have signs at Lee,
Yeah.
Lakes, Adams, anywhere. So I don't know if we treat it any differently, but I guess if somebody was up there walking around, the school could ask them to leave. It is a park, but they have to go through the school grounds to get there. Yeah, I didn't realize that if somebody's from the community, they can't walk on the track at the high school when school's in session. I didn't realize that.
No, they can't use the tennis courts either.
Right.
So does someone want to make a motion that we go ahead with taking over Upper Cox Fields under Park and Rec jurisdiction?
I will make the motion that we, that the Cox Field should become under the jurisdiction of the Parks and Recreation Commission.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Okay. Before we go into the master plan, I have a question. What is the golf course? Do we have anything to do?
The Guilford Lakes Golf Course?
Yeah, the Guilford Lakes Golf Course. It's in beautiful shape, and I've been up there in the afternoon, and there's like nobody around. Is there any advertisement, or who
Separate
promotes
commission.
it?
There's a Guilford Lakes Golf Commission, so it's totally separated from us. But yeah, Ted Tye does a great job there. He's a master.
I
It's
feel like
just
when I
not
drive by,
a
I
whole-
do see people there.
You do?
I feel like I've seen more people there.
Oh, okay, good.
Maybe it's
And I know
just time.
Mike, the pro that they hired, has his own Facebook page. You could subscribe to it. And he's constantly, like,
Okay.
weekly putting up something, getting people talking on the forum and.
Well, there is stuff going on, because it's
It is
such a
beautiful.
simple,
I
I
feel
just
like it
would
is.
hate to see it close down and not
Well, the good thing they
survive.
did this year is that they got themselves certified by the USGA, which means that puts them on the USGA website and any other professional golfers website as well.
Okay.
So that's, the cliche, the good housekeeping stamp of approval, that's the approval that you need to run a golf course effectively. That means that the pro has been certified as a USGA certified pro as well.
Okay, I just wondered.
Well, we did at one point, they asked for our help to come up with ideas on how they could revamp it and promote it. But that was our only charge with them.
A couple years ago, they did radio spots. I remember hearing it on the radio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I was like, whoa, that's us.
I think somebody said it's rated as one of the nicest 9-hole courses in New England.
Yeah,
It is.
It really is nice.
It is. It actually won the award several years back as being the #1 9-hole golf course in New England.
AE Parks Master Plan. So last month, it was suggested that we, even though we walk our fields every year, that we walk our fields and really take a look at what we have at our parks and beaches and think forward for what possibilities could happen at these places and things that need to be improved. So the subcommittee, Rose, myself, Judy, and Tara, walked Lake Winnipeg and Bittner Park. We did make some notes on what it already has, what we thought could possibly go there, and the things that we feel like need to be addressed sooner than later. I don't think we're sharing all the information yet. I think we wanted to get a couple more under, and then we will share it out with the commission so that you guys not constantly just giving you 2 at a time. So we still have Chatfinch, Chittenden, Jacobs, Peddlers, Nut Plains, Rollwood, Mill Pond, Daniel Avenue Beach, and Community Center. So we will be on a lot of field trips.
December 1st, we'll have to.
Seriously.
I was gonna say January 1.
Yeah.
I'd love to join you, but it won't be until nighttime. I need flashlights.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
There is
I'm
no
turning into
timeline
summer.
for this. It's not something that we have to have done by a deadline. It's not something that is required to be done. We as a commission are doing this, so future commission could have a plan, an idea, and any of us are still on it, we will have an idea of what that plan is. So, and it's, I mean, I think we were pretty conservative on what we talked about for those 2 places, but I mean, as a commission, when we start to talk about what's there and really go over the report with you, I mean, you guys are welcome to throw out ideas that you have that could possibly be there, or.
Part of the master plan, we still have
I don't
Peddler's
like
Park.
calling it that.
Okay, go.
I don't know, no, it needs a different name.
No, yeah.
Grand master plan. We have Peddler's Park in our inventory, and I think that Peddler's Park,
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard one to do.
I would think that would probably be, the best thing to do would be to see if the Guilford Land Trust would be willing to take that piece of property off our hands. Because by extension, they're using it anyway as one of their trailheads. So I would just feel like it would be better if we if they're using it now, let them manage it for future generations.
And that could come up in that we would have to make that decision as a commission and talk to Board of Selectmen if we can do that and how we would do it. And if they even want it. Yeah. So, but yeah, that is.
We could give it back to, we can give it to the schools. We're taking cots, we give it to peddlers.
Sure, Freeman would love that. So there's not much to talk about on that, but if you guys have ideas now that you're generating in your head when you think of one of these places, feel free to share it with us, that we can put it on our list so when we walk it, that we can feel like, and then we usually have our commission walk of all the parks in the summer. We're gonna hold off on doing that right now and planning that, so maybe in June we will make a date for that, or later on. New business.
Claire, just a quick
yeah.
question for you. I don't know if this
I was
is new
gonna
business
add-
or old business, because we originally talked, I'm sorry, it wasn't on the agenda because I just got something back from
I put it under
Kim
new
Mailman.
business, but
Okay.
it's actually old business because we did talk about it last month. So can I get a motion to add room reservation form update to unfinished business?
Motion that the room form to unfinished business.
Thank you. A second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So, last month we discussed the room reservation forms, and it was brought up that we were having nonprofit groups that we determined or found out that were nonprofit, non-residents, and should we be charging them and not. So Rick did some work on that, and I will let Rick talk about it.
So anything that's highlighted in yellow are changes, suggested changes, some minor things like revision date you see there, and I guess town, I don't know, we had address but not town. Because originally, the room reservations were for Guilford residents only, so we didn't have to have town, but now we are getting non-resident, nonprofit groups, and even private use requesting it. So that's added on there, the date they made the request. The other part here in yellow, I think some of that might have been on the back under rules, and so we just put it on the front so it's highlighted more. And then I think we added here at the bottom of that big paragraph there, nonprofits must provide their 501c3 certificate. That's what shows their nonprofit status through the IRS. And then, we changed the box here, as Claire mentioned, we were getting non-resident nonprofit groups, and they weren't being charged because we didn't have a platform to charge them on. It just said nonprofits, because again, when this was originally set up, it was only Guilford groups. So now we were starting to get a lot of non-resident nonprofits, so we thought, but they're not residents, they should pay something. They're not residents.
When you say non-residents, how far are they coming to ask for this?
Oregon, no, I'm kidding.
Well, there's a
Branford,
Patterson,
West Hartford,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, not West Hartford, I'm sorry,
West Haven?
no, Westbrook, that way, east of here, east of here. Yeah, it's probably more Madison and Branford, probably more than anything, but I think New Haven, we had a couple. They might be shoreline groups, but they're based not in Guilford, and they may have some Guilford people in it, but their base is not. So, and the other one that we struggled with is the homeowners association or condo associations. We have been treating them as nonprofits, and so I talked to Bill Millman, our attorney, about this a little bit, and I think they're really more of a private use. They may have a nonprofit board, but it's really a private use. It's a private group coming to use the building here. And so we're thinking they really probably should be in the private use category, not nonprofit, so that they should probably be paying. When they come, they're usually for an hour and a half. Some of them are on Friday nights, which they should be paying on a Friday night anyway.
Are we having any problems with not having enough time for our own organizations, that these folks are?
Are they just picking a random room to
Yes.
go into, or like whatever's vacant, or?
They'll make a request, and we'll check if the room is available, and there's nothing scheduled in there, then we would, if you look on the back too, I think it says somewhere they can only do it 3, see the highlight?
Oh, yeah,
Non-resident.
No more than
Have a
3 months in
shorter
advance,
window.
so what we want to do is make sure we get all of our programs in there, because we do it quarterly. And, again, going back a number of years, it used to be groups could reserve like for a whole year at a time, and then we wanted to put a program in, we couldn't put a program in this room because, we gave it to such and such a group, now we can't put our own program in there. So, it's quarterly now, they can only do 3 months in advance, and that's, we have whatever those dates are, like, I don't know, maybe September 1st for that quarter, or August 1st for the fall, and maybe it's, December 1st for the winter, I don't know the exact dates, but,
And there's never been even like a suggestion of a donation? I just can't imagine like renting coming to a space that it's not even your town, and not even thinking about like a donation or.
Yeah, because we had no means to do that, we had no fee structure, so that's why we want to put that in there now, so now we do have a fee structure for that. For the Guilford nonprofits, that's a no-brainer, they're free, unless they're having a dinner and it's on a weekend or something, we charge, but, and all the youth groups are free, like, Little League if they meet here, or, lacrosse club, or basketball, or any scouts, Girl Scouts, boy, they're always free, we don't charge, even on a weekend, we don't charge them. And there are some other groups that.
But usually there's, I know like, I work up at the church and there's like AA groups and things like that are nonprofit, but then they'll just think to give like a little bit of a donation out of the kindness of just
Yeah.
like, this is your fuel and your,
Right,
your
right.
electricity and things like that. That's why I was kind of curious.
So I won't say the group, but there was a group, it turned out, that was meeting here for free, and it was basically their employees were coming here and using a room and having like a lunch meeting. But none of them were in Guilford. They were coming from, I think, either Madison or Westbrook over that way, and Branford. This was a central spot, and they were having a staff meeting here, and we said, well, wait a minute, that's a group should be paying. They are a nonprofit organization, but it's not their clients that were coming here, it was the employees were coming here because it was a convenient spot to meet. And it's, they're a non-resident group, and they should be paying. They're using our building, using our waste, our trash, our lice, and so that's probably the biggest change, is having a category for non-resident nonprofit groups now. We always had the non-resident private groups, but not the nonprofit, so we added that in here. And then Pam suggested we add number 15 on the bottom, in the back, the rules. This was an issue brought up by a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission who had seen, I think it was a retirement planning seminar, it was here, and not sponsored by us, and all these groups that rent our building, we don't endorse them, we don't sponsor them, just renting a room. But this person was concerned that if they give out poor information and people end up buying a service from them, he thought the town could have some liability on that. And I said, well, yeah, but it's not our program, it's just somebody using the room. So the disclaimer, 15, came from our town attorney. Use of town property by persons, entities which conduct seminars and/or distribute materials does not constitute an endorsement by the town of the subject matter of such use. So that covers us. So that's an addition here.
Am I reading this correctly? $1 million certificate of insurance
Yeah,
for a caterer?
right.
$1
Yeah,
million.
we don't get it very often because there aren't too many people that use it actually for catering. Very few. Or if they do, a lot of times use Larry.
Okay.
And Larry doesn't give us a certificate of insurance, but he's not working for us if he does that. Like there was the Guilford Interfaith Volunteers had their dinner here 2 Sundays ago, and they hired Larry to cater it. Larry was not working for us, he was paid for by them. They paid for the use of the room and everything, the use of the kitchen, but we didn't, I guess, we didn't charge
They
him.
could actually have asked for, they could have asked Larry for a certificate of insurance, like, they could have
Right.
been, I just do this for a living, so it's like,
Right.
they could have asked him for it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I don't even get certificates of insurance from a caterer. I don't get them from caterers.
No?
For, AL?
Yeah, yeah, and I bring them in all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's not all that often that it happens.
And number 12 may require a police officer to be on duty?
Right.
I mean,
Depends on how many people are there.
If it's an
probably.
event that we think that somebody's renting it for a,
But the Crips and the Bloods are coming here, or?
No, but if this is the one thing I do, I hire a cop if there's over 50 people at an event, so.
Really?
Yeah, requires it. They don't care if everybody eats food.
So I think if you folks approve this, I think the fee structure, it will change for the condo associations and stuff.
Agree.
And there are some that are already committed. I don't think we can go and charge them now, but I think that we pick a date, maybe say after July 1st or something going forward.
Fiscal year.
Right, fiscal year, that we would start implementing those fees. I think that's fair.
Can we get a motion to approve the changes to the community center use form? And a second?
So well, Stan.
I will second it.
Thank you.
All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. So this will go into effect July 1st. Perfect, great. All right, so now moving on to new business. Now that it's 8 o'clock. Trash truck order.
All right, so let me fill you in on that. So we have, as you know, we have a money in our capital budget to purchase a trash truck. So I went to the Board of Selectmen this morning. I'm going to go back Wednesday morning because we need to do a little clarification, but I want to fill you in on where we are with it. So to get, the budget was based on a truck that we since went to look at, and it isn't going to work the way we thought it would work. the truck, it was a trash truck, and it had, for the recycling part, it was on the side, and it was probably about 4 or 5 feet high, so, and it didn't, you couldn't get a lifter for it, a barrel lifter, so our guys would have to lift the barrels and dump them in, and we're not gonna do that. That's why we stopped doing trash years ago, because guys are getting injured picking up those barrels. It's gotta have the tipper. So, that truck is out of the question. And so, I did some research, and the plan that we came up with was, we can get a trash truck that just does trash, and I just got the revised quote. Actually, while I was sitting in the Board of Selectmen meeting, I was getting texted a quote, and I could revise even more. I got an email. So for around $104,000 for a trash truck that just does trash, no recycling, just trash. Darn, I'm sorry, I should have brought up a picture of this other thing. There's another unit called a Perkins unit that we propose using for recycling, a whole separate vehicle that will go in the back of a pickup truck that we already have the truck. And so it's a little dump body. It can handle 6 yards of trash or recycling. It's got the tipper, or actually it's a grabber, like hugs the barrel, and you can use a round barrel, which we have a bunch of, or if we buy some of the rectangular barrels, it grabs them. It's a hugger, and it picks them up and dumps them in. So the proposal I made this morning was that we get the, I didn't have the final quote, so I was going to go back for that anyway for the trash truck. I just got that today. I've been bugging the guy for 2 weeks. I just got it. So for about $21,000, we can get this, $21,858 actually, get this other one that we would use just for recycling. So it'd be a separate vehicle that we do recycling in that, and it's on a pickup truck. I like it because it's small. We can get into tight space, and we go on fields with it. That you don't want to maybe drive on a field with a trash truck and damage if the ground's soft or whatever. So we would use this little one for recycling, use the garbage, typical trash truck that you see with the compactor and all that, an 8-yard unit that can easily handle any barrels, all the barrels that we would have in town. And if there's future growth, it can handle it. It can take up to over 200 barrels, and we have maybe 110 around town right now. So it may be a little overkill, but the upcharge was only about $1,200, $1,500 difference to go with an 8-yard versus 6-yard. It makes sense to go with the larger one. So the total cost, if we get both of them, is about $126,600. We have $124,000 budgeted. I'm sure the other $2,600, we can make that work. I mean, we've saved some money in the 2 trucks that we ordered this year. We've saved more than that. So I think there's money available to do that. And at some point, we have to buy some barrels. There's money out of that capital account. I think we can do that.
When you're talking about barrels, are you talking about the old blue barrels that we had, or the ones with that are currently
I'm talking about
in the
we
field?
buy some. It would be, have a lid on it.
With the lid.
Have the special recycling where the hole in it for recycling. Then we would get our logo, our Parks and Rec logo. We'll get stickers to put on them, so it'll be a Parks and Rec logo on it, which I think, the logo it's nice, and we should use it. So the issue is that they came up is that they wanted me to get a cost for what's called a split body truck, so that we don't have to go back a second time, which is originally what we wanted anyway. So basically, they're usually like a 60%, 60% of the split body is trash, 40% is recycling. So the guys would only once go with that truck. But I already know, and I mentioned at this meeting this morning, that we're talking more like somewhere around $180,000, $200,000 for that truck. And I told them I thought it was, and I knew it was going to be way more expensive than we had in the budget. I was trying to get something that fits in the budget, going with the trash truck at 105, the little recycling one. The downside is we'd have to go twice. We would, there's no question about that. It would take a little bit more labor, but I think that.
In the long run, though, with gas and with, just the time, I think probably might be worth investigating going with the more expensive one.
Yeah, well,
If they're willing to chip in for it.
There's a part 2. How do you dump that? Trash trucks are very low to the ground. They're maybe 24 inches. If you go to the transfer station, the trash truck, the trash can be dumped into the trash bin there. The recycle bin is 48 inches high. We can't dump with a trash truck into that. That's why this unit that I wanted to get, that can go 55 inches. You can be up to 55 inches high to dump into it. And quite frankly, I forgot about that when we had the meeting this morning, so when I go back on Wednesday, I'm gonna give them all this data, I'll get the real price for the split body unit, but how are we gonna dump it? There's no way to dump that.
Right.
Down there. The the Perkins unit, which is the one that goes on the back of the pickup truck, it's a dump body, it'll work. Tony and I went there, we met with the head guy down there today, we looked at it, trying to look at all different angles, and so how can we do this? How can we, the pickup truck unit will work there.
It has to be transferred to another pickup truck, or
Yeah.
that pickup truck
That's what I was gonna ask you. Breaks down or
breaks down or
something.
whatever, it's no,
Yeah.
you can just
Yeah.
transfer it to another truck.
It bolts
Yeah.
onto the body, we can just rebolt it onto something else.
What does that do for the man hours? Because we budgeted for an extra person,
Right.
one extra person. So
Right.
and we wanted that one person to be like 2 days on garbage
Right.
and then the rest of the week doing other things. So how does having the 2 trucks doing 2 runs affect that part of it?
So Tony and I talked about that a little bit. So he thinks back to when we used to do the trash. There was all trash. There was no recycling. It wasn't separated. It was all just trash. He said that they could do the entire town in a day, get everything. Town buildings, I mean, everything. We do town hall here, I mean, everything. It was all mixed together, but it was just in the back of a dump truck. We could do it all in a day, but it was usually 2 runs. So we do maybe half the town, then we'd have to go to the dump it, and then do the other half the town, go to dump it. With a trash truck, it's a 8 yard, it gets compacted. It's compacted 8 yards, so we could do that with 1 run. We could do everything. We don't have to go to the dump, back and forth, do it all once. Then the recycle part of it, recycling, I think we'd only do that once a week anyway. If you look at any of the trash barrels that are recycle barrels, if people do it right, and quite frankly, I mean, the truth of the matter is that most recycle barrels are contaminated anyway.
Yeah.
People don't recycle very well. They do it at home, but they don't do it in the parks. And so if there's garbage in a recycle barrel, that's going in the trash anyway. So
There is an underground economy of gentlemen who do drive around with bicycles.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Larry now,
Yeah.
I'm talking about
There are
other
a couple
folks.
guys, yeah.
They hit every recycling bin
Right.
in town to pull out the recyclables for their own profit.
So the reality is that I don't think there's going to be a lot of recycling, and we'll do it probably once a week, not twice a week. Again, if you go to any of our parks and you look at a recycle bin, they're not full on a Monday and a Friday. So maybe we just only do that once a week. So we do the trash twice a week, so maybe we're talking a half a day doing the recycling.
Yeah,
So-
I think part of the problem too is that it's confusing. Like, which barrels are recyclable, which barrels, you know what I mean? If we could get rid of some of that confusion.
Yeah, well, most of the recycled barrels say recycled right
Yeah,
on,
they're
and we'll,
supposed to
if we're gonna buy them, whatever, we'll make sure that's
Yeah.
very, very clear, stickers or whatever. There's the symbol, I think we didn't need more than the symbol, we just actually have a sticker that says recycling, or if we buy barrels, we'll get the ones with the little hole in them,
Yeah.
so it's very obvious,
Yeah, there's a lot of.
Spell it out.
right?
What's the cost to go to for us to go to the dump to dump it? Would that be like?
Tipping fee.
The tipping fee, I think it's $115 a ton, we've got that built into our budget.
Okay.
It's in the budget, based on what our estimate of how many tons we think it's gonna be.
What are we paying for service right now?
45, well, now 33,500, the quote we got, the same company we're working with, the quote would go up to be somewhere around 40 to 45,000.
So this will pay for itself in
Yeah.
a few years.
Right.
Well, I'm going to bring up the subject that we had last month. I mean, again, like Chaffinch Island, do we need barrels there? I mean, I still am
Valid
part
point.
of
Yeah.
there's a part of me that says we should not put it there simply because of the fact that it just invites people to put trash when they should be taking it home with them.
I think we can reduce the barrels. I think some places we really absolutely should have them. I think Chaffin's probably because there are picnics there.
Chaffinch has a lot of them, though.
We have more than we need.
Yeah.
In Calvin Lee, if any of you have been there for soccer or anything recently, they're all lined up against Vista Drive anyway. And so
Yeah.
who's using them? I don't think anybody is.
No.
Yeah.
Are you required to have, if it's a park, is there any requirements that you have to have a garbage can there? Or is that just?
No, but if we have a garbage can, we have to have recycling too. And they have to be side by side. It doesn't really have to be exactly one for one, like at Jacobs Beach, for example. there's picnic pavilions, maybe we have, I don't know, let's just say 6 trash barrels. We don't necessarily have to have 6 recycle barrels. Hopefully people will use common sense. If there's a trash barrel here and a recycle barrel right there, they go to the right one to put the bottle in, or the trash. Actually, it's more important, they put the trash in the trash barrels. They're contaminated. They all, almost all of them are. And it's going to have to be an educational thing that, maybe we do it through the youth sports leagues and for people that, maybe you're doing a good job at home. You got to do it on the green. You got to do it in the parks too. And right now they're not. And I can tell you, I look in those recycle barrels and there's other stuff in there that would, and you can't, our guys are not going to go fishing through that. And I don't expect the contractors to do that either. So you can't ask them to go pulling out the bags of the dog droppings, for example, or pizza boxes that have
And again,
crust to
like
them.
I said, like last year, I think that, I know we can't monitor them all the time, but I've had a few instances I've seen up at Lake Quantipago of people dumping their,
And a personal training.
oh yeah,
Well-
I've sat there at lunch once and just
Yeah.
watched someone, and it was like, they didn't get off quick enough, I was ready to say something, but, yeah,
Yeah, it's called
Interesting.
That's called larceny.
yeah, I mean, it's.
Well, and we have gone after them. When we used to do it, we looked at it, we had our guys go through those bags. And the contractors have occasionally done that, even the group we're working with now. Sometimes they do that. They find a black bag full of stuff and they call me and they bring me an envelope and I contact the police department and they pay a visit to the person who left their trash there. It happens just about in every park, everywhere.
Well, if the state of Connecticut gets their way, then the recycling is going to become even more valuable because it'll go from a nickel to a dime. And they're going to increase it to iced tea drinks and sports drinks and Gatorade bottles. So, anything else I can think of is right.
Well,
yeah.
actually, what's happening with recycling now, towns used to make money off recycling.
Oh, man,
'cause
you can't get rid of it.
But now, it costs the town to recycle. There's a sizable fee for it. And so, I think it's a good idea if people do it right, but, the whole thing is with China's not taking it anymore. And, I've seen stuff on the news that the plastic bags get in there and they ruin the machines, they get all clogged up. And, so I think it's good for people to recycle, but they gotta do it in the parks and public areas too, not just what they do at home.
I actually just hired a student, I had somebody from sustainability to stand over trash cans during events and tell
Yeah.
people where to put stuff.
Wow.
It's sad because I had funding for this and everybody is like, oh, I'll put a presentation on it, whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you're applying for this job, you can stand above the trash cans. Because that's really what you need,
Yeah.
it's really.
Recycle police.
Yeah.
What do we have to think about? I know there were some of the merchants that were having trouble over the summer, I think last year, with the overflow. So we have to kind of think about, that's going to be an extra trip out maybe a week during the summer.
I had a call
or-
from one of the merchants on the green today, on Whitfield Street, and I told her that one of the things they're suggesting is the Big Belly. They compact, they're solar powered. And we looked into the one a couple of years ago, but they're really expensive. I can't remember the number, like, I don't know, maybe $1,500 or $2,000 to get a barrel.
Yeah.
But I think the merchants might be willing to help pay for those on the green, on there. But I also suggested that, and I've been talking to Brian McGlone about this, is that maybe we should take the barrels, try it for a season, take them away don't put them in front of the stores. Put them on the green side,
I'm all for that, yeah.
because I think that people are pretty good about not leaving water bottles on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
If they see a barrel, they're gonna just walk across Park Street, or Whitfield Street, and put them there. Here's my reasoning for that. One is that they are unsightly. I never liked those little 30-gallon barrels anyway, because they overflow like crazy. The merchants don't like the big 96-gallon ones because they're ugly. But I said, well, what's uglier? The trash coming over the top or staying inside? But regardless of that, they don't like them. The other thing is that when you get into the heat of summer, they start to smell, and you got that smell coming into the restaurants, into the stores, and then we got bees and flies, especially when you get into August, September, October. The bees start like crazy, they get in the store. So for all those reasons, I've been suggesting, why don't we try it for a season, take them off from there. Don't even put them in front of the stores. Let's try that. If it's a problem, we put them back and we do something else. So I told her that. I also told her we are going to take control of the trash. It's going to be Parks and Rec staff doing it. So if they're overflowing on a Wednesday, I can send a guy there to go get it. But a contractor, you can't do that. It's Monday, Friday, that's it. So,
I just have a question. Why do we handle like trash pickup for the town hall and for around the green and et cetera?
How did that start?
We do all the trash. Anything's not residential, we do.
It seems like a public works thing to me. I don't know.
Don't forget, we're the Department of Parks and Cooperation.
It really does seem
On
like
that
something
note,
that would be under public works,
Good point.
you know.
Most towns.
Well, I think because we did trash, we did the green anyway. The green is a town, it's a
Yeah.
park really. And while we're there, town hall's right there.
Yeah.
The barrels in front of the stores, I've always, kind of questioned why are we doing that, but they're there and it's part of that's considered part of the green too, even though they're the stores. But I think that,
I think if people started to realize the cost, I mean, quite honestly, before I came on this committee, I didn't realize half of these costs. Now it's significant.
yeah.
Thanks,
All right, so we, in time,
Yeah,
we
sorry.
need to watch our time.
We got-
So what's the selling point on Wednesday that we're gonna convince, Board of Selectmen that we need the 2 trucks?
Well, again, that's gonna be my proposal. If they want to go with the one split body, then somebody's got to come up with the money to do that. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but again, I don't know how we're gonna dump it. There's no, the
The
recycle
split
part.
body, there's 2 negatives, dumping it and cost.
Right.
It's over our budget. Okay.
It would save man-hour time, though, there's no question. It would, if we made one trip, it would save some time.
But where would you dump it?
Yeah, but we're-
Right, yeah.
Go for efficiency.
It was a fair question they had, and I just, I didn't have the price for a split body one. I have a over-the-phone estimate. I asked him, I said, I need it by tomorrow, because 8 o'clock Wednesday morning is the meeting. And so he's got to give me something, either give me a firm quote, or just, even if it's an estimate, I could just let the Board of Selectmen know that if that's the direction I want to go, this is probably what it's going to cost. They're just not going to be able to approve a vendor on Wednesday if I don't have the formal written quote.
All right, new business fireworks.
That was approved today by Board of Selectmen. We're going to go with Atlas Fireworks Company again. I asked them to waive the purchasing process, which means getting quotes and everything. This will be our 20th year doing the fireworks, and every year it's been Atlas. Their prices, for a lot of reasons. One is the price has either always been the best price, or they met the specifications. There's a more local company in Connecticut that we talked to one time. Their price was better, but they can't do the show like the show we get. And the fire department, fire marshal, fire chief stand firmly behind Atlas Fireworks Company. Their record is impeccable, safety record. They bring what they say they're going to bring. They're there on time, they're professional. There's all good reasons. So anyway, the Board of Selectmen approved going with
Without
Atlas.
having to go out to bid.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the budget for the fireworks comes directly out of our,
We pay right out of the program account.
okay, all right.
It's probably about $15,000.
Again, other towns, especially Branford, I know they do solicit donations from the people as they enter the park. Are we not going to consider that?
Well, into the park, the money goes to the Agricultural Society. They collect the parking fee,
Okay,
and that goes to them.
okay.
So, because they don't charge us a rental for it, and so they get the money. We used to do the parking ourselves. It was really hard to get volunteers to come out there and worry about getting their toes run over, and people swearing at them because they're trying to tell them, no, you can't park that way, and, threaten them to run them over, and so we stopped doing it. And so the Egg Society, if you want it, you can have the parking.
Anything else on fireworks? All right, new business, D, pop-up tents issue at Lake Winnipeg. Do you want me to talk about that, or do you want to? So when we were up visiting Lake Winnipeg, we talked about how the summer it gets really busy, and a lot of the time the parking lot's congested with people having pop-up tents and tailgating in the parking lot. Sometimes that leads to alcohol use and whatever. So we wanted to expand parking and move the tree line, the rocks towards the tree line on 77 to minimize that space where they wouldn't be able to. And we want to put up a sign that says no tents in the parking lot and in the grassy area. So pretty much no tents at Lake Winnipeg.
Except for the
Except for the
shades on the beach.
Shade on the
Yeah.
beach, which is appropriate.
Yeah.
Enforcement?
We are hoping that the signs help and that we would let the police know that we've changed our policies and that they would drive by more. And if lifeguards see it and gate guards see it, to call it in. If,
It's not like the police aren't there.
Right.
Yeah, because the gate guards enforcing, because they got to stay at that position there. There's only one gate guard who's in, collecting the fees, and if he leaves to go down the far end of the parking lot.
Someone's getting it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old is not going to be able
Yeah.
to confront an adult
Right.
party to say that, take that tent down.
There's my other new job.
Is there gonna be something like in the town ordinance that says you can't, in other words, if the police show up there and they see you can't have a tent there, if push comes to shove, the police are gonna have to say, well, per town ordinances, it's right here, you can't, in other words, there's gotta be something backing up that we can't have any. Yeah, because if not, then we're wasting time.
I think the sign for that.
Well, and can't we also include it in our beach pass
The
rules?
yeah.
But I do think
There you
that
go,
we
yeah.
obviously need to, but is that enough?
If you're,
I'm not an attorney, but you have to have
Just
something in
something,
there, like
yeah.
you're violating this statute or this town
I think
ordinance.
you're right, I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's not just, you can't have a tent, right? Who says it?
Because,
Yeah, the police won't do it if they don't.
no, they don't, they won't do anything.
Right.
well,
Basically,
How is that
it's-
different than the
at
other
that point-
rules already listed? They're not all in
well,
ordinance.
I have a problem here because the police don't enforce the no parking at Bittner Park, and people park for Little League everywhere they want, including in the circle, they park on the grass, they park,
77.
they park, I mean, okay, we have an ordinance, we have a sign that says no parking, and yet we still don't have any enforcement for it. So, okay, what are we gonna do here? I mean, so, if we just put a sign up first to say, no tents, let's let that work first. If that doesn't work, then we have to.
Yeah, I mean, if
ordinance
there's a
written.
sign that says no tents there, and there's no teeth to it, then don't bother calling the police, because there's nothing they can enforce.
I think you're right. But, so do you want to at least try it with just a sign for now and see how that works out?
And
then
in the
to do an
beach
ordinance is
pass.
going to take a while. 'cause
It's
it
gonna
goes
take
through
But I
the
it'll
think
take a
legislature.
year to get the
We
ordinance.
include it on our beach pass rules on our website, and then we have a sign up there at the gate guard station or even throughout the parking lot.
It's mostly for safety, if you really
Right.
think about it. I mean,
Is everyone okay with that?
Well, let me ask a question. We're not charging an admission to enter the parking lot, is that correct?
We are.
Yes.
We are.
You need to have a beach pass or pay the gate guard to park your car.
Okay.
Because that's the
That's fine.
usage of the beach.
That's fine. I thought the ordinance, I thought our policy was you pay to enter the beach, not
It
the
used to be.
parking lot.
It used to be
It
changed.
Okay, so that's why we're getting tents, is because people aren't going to the beach, they're just going to the parking lot
Well,
to
half
hang.
of them are on the parking lot and half of them that don't want to be at the beach. I mean, half are at the beach and half are hanging out in the parking lot.
Well, I would say that we need to not only restrict it at Quantipic, but we have to do the same thing at Jacobs Beach as well.
Well, what justifies though, up at the top of Quantipic, if like there's somebody is having an event up there and they come into the parking lot, they don't have to, if they're
If there's
attending a Boy
Board of
Scout
Honor-
function.
We have Boy Scout
Right, right. But
functions up there all the time.
There was one last
But
Sunday.
there's not, usually during the summertime, during beach hours. And that would be different because they have to fill out a rental form.
My son had his Court of Honor during the summertime.
And they pay there's a fee
Right.
now to rent the pavilions like there is at Jacobs. So like at Jacobs, if they're there for the picnic pavilion, they don't have to have a beach pass.
But not who's monitoring, but then how do you know they're going to that party? They could tell you that.
The same thing at Jacobs.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, they have to say, they have to tell the gate guard, we're here for the
Parks Master
Smith
Plan,
party.
right?
Do they have to,
It's
when
on
they
there,
go
it's one
through
of
the
the things
gate,
that we need.
when they go through the gate at Quantipic to get onto the beach, is there something that has to be shown to get there? When you cross the street and get to the beach, there's nothing there that has to be shown?
No.
Yeah, okay.
It's, they
The
pay to come
gatehouse,
and use the
yeah.
parking lot, and then
Yeah.
they have access to the beach. It's changed.
So we need to make a motion to go ahead and put a no tent sign at Lake Quinnipiac and add it to our beach rules and our website. So I will make a motion to.
I will make a motion to add no tents to a sign at Lake Quantipic and add it to our beach pass rules form.
People are going to argue with us on what a tent is, but.
Pop-up tents. Well, I think, do you want to make that for Jacobs too, though, for the beaches?
we don't have an issue with that, though, do you?
Yeah, there's one last year, somebody, had one on the beach.
Okay,
It was a
so we'll make our
pop-up tent.
motion to include both our beaches.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, what is a tent? Is it a 10 by 10?
A tent's a tent.
A tent's a tent, it's not these pop-up shape things.
Not like the.
Not like the
not
baby
kid
tent.
ones or the baby ones.
Yeah, the
Like
little,
the 10 by
the little
10
shapings on
or
the beach are okay.
Yeah, yeah.
8x8, 10 by
Yeah.
10, you know, we use. it
Like you bring to
sporting events.
softball.
Yeah, we use
Yeah.
the sporting events or softball or
Yes.
or
Right.
soccer, they put it over the players' benches.
So people could sit and relax in the shade.
Right.
Versus a tent with sides.
That's okay.
Right.
Anyone want to second Tara's motion?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone else have anything?
Nope.
Okay, then I say we adjourn at 8:27. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You had a long.
Aye.